Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Nonprofit Fundamentals. I'm Adam, joined alongside with April. And today we have a special guest, Dominique Lee, CEO of Brick Networks, who's here kind of talk about his journey and path within the nonprofit space. Dominique, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Adam and April. Much appreciated.
So why don't you give a little short intro about yourself, your background, just how you got to where you are.
I am, as Adam mentioned, I'm Dominique Lee. I'm the founder and CEO of Brick Networks. I've been in a nonprofit space for about 18 years now. I come from the great state of Michigan, went to University of Michigan, go blue. And at the graduation, my father and my mother and my stepmother gave me one simple charge, which was to do what I love and make the world a better place. So I entered into the education space as a classroom teacher to Teach for America. I was placed in Newark, New Jersey. And from that experience, I learned that in order to support children holistically, to support them in their dreams that they have for themselves, you had to be a bit more of a broader aspect of supporting them because I just saw a lot of things. So with that, I started my own school in conjunction with a couple of my good friends that were also part of Teach for America. And from that experience, this is now our 15th year. We now run a cradle to career continuum, supporting maternal health, supporting children from birth all the way up to college and career. So supporting mothers around maternal health, ensuring healthy births, ensuring that they have access to health care, access to food security, in addition to that, employee workforce development opportunities. So yeah, that's how I got here, and that's why I'm in this role.
You do it all.
That really evolved though, huh?
Yeah,
Started off as education and really evolved into so much more.
yes, and it only evolved because of the proximity that we were to the people that we were serving, right? So I could have just been a classroom teacher, but seeing through the lens of the eyes of the children, and just seeing that, we got to do a bit more, right? A great teacher, a great principal, they are needed, but there are so many other barriers that were
Mhm.
preventing people from being successful. So it was because of our lived experience being as close as possible to the people we were serving that our model evolved to where it is now.
Mhm.
That's great. So, what I know you're going to say you don't have a typical day to day, but what would you say is the most typical day to day?
Typical day, ideal or what is typical day though? Day to day.
Let's go with the reality one. Let's hear about the
Reality.
chaos.
Yeah, I would say reality is as the leader of an organization is very lonely, right? And there's so many decisions that you have to make. And many of those decisions, some people are just not going to be comfortable with, which is why I always tell all new CEOs is you have to be willing to be not liked, right? You're going to be in a room, people are not going to like you. That
Mhm.
just comes with the territory. You are not in a position that you can make a decision everyone's going to love you, and you can't be the one on the sideline just pointing the finger, right? You got to be the one in the ring getting bloodied and getting marred by the decisions that you make. So this is not the job to be liked in. You are not going to be the employee of the year. So day to day, dealing with staffing situations, dealing with operations issues. As we've grown, ideally, my job is to be more at the balcony level, looking at strategic planning, being out there evangelizing about the organization, working with the board, bringing in the fundraising dollars. That should be my day to day, but I get pulled into the everyday shenanigans of managing adults.
What's some of the best parts of your day?
I would say the best parts of my day, what brings me joy, is when I'm actually seeing the data move in something that we started, right? So there was a problem, we had input from our community, we put a solution to place, and now we're seeing the data from that and seeing actually, oh, this is actually taking root. I would say that's a positive. I think another positive is when you're in innovation mode with your staff and you're like ideating around different strategies and whiteboarding and sticky notes and you're just really in the weeds on things, that brings joy too. And so I would say those are the top two things.
Nice.
What have some of your biggest accomplishments, what are the biggest accomplishments you've had so far?
Ooh, biggest accomplishment. I would say is that there's this U.S. Promise Neighborhood grants. They are only very seldomly given out. I think there's been a max of like 20 or 25. And they're usually given to big resource institutions or big organizations, like you're like 200, 300 workers, right? And so we applied for it one year, did not get it. We lost by 1 point on the application. And then we were like, oh, let's apply again. They released it. We did the next year and we actually won. And at that point in time, we were only like 5 employees. And
Wow.
you're competing against like Rutgers, New Brunswick, which actually did apply the year that we applied. You're
Mhm.
applying against John Hopkins, like huge institutions. And I always wonder, like, did they actually know how small we were when we applied? So we received it, and not only did we receive one, we received two, and we're one of the three nationwide organizations that's been able to receive it twice. Only three organizations been able to do that, and we're the only organization led by a person of color who's been able to do that.
That's great.
Yeah. I remember when you guys won. That was a great day. You were all
Yeah,
very excited.
yes, it's like we actually can do our work.
Yeah.
It's like also like seeing those dreams become reality then.
Yeah, it
You have
was
all
like,
these visions and plans and things that you'd love to do, and then,
yeah,
being able to
yeah.
follow through.
That's exactly what it was, which was here's the resources to actually put our plan into action. So we have the
Mhm.
resources now to actually fully implement it.
That's
That's
good.
great. So, what would you say is, what skills help you most succeeding in your role as CEO? What are the most
Mm,
important skill sets you need?
I would say be my top three for me is
Okay.
have a firm foundation in my faith. What I tell other CEOs is that you have a firm foundation in something outside yourself. So for me, it was a firm foundation, my faith. My faith drives all the work that I do. This is why I'm in this game. I enjoy it, and it kind of sustains me, right, for the tides that are going to come, because they're going to come in the nonprofit space. So having a firm understanding of why I'm in this work and root it in something outside of your individual self, right? Two, as I mentioned, be be willing to be uncomfortable and not liked. Um, if you're doing your job and you're pushing on the system to be different, you're going to ruffle feathers, which makes you unliked or disinvited to some meetings. So you have to be firm in understanding who you are and being able to weather that, the territory battles that are going to come. Just be understanding that aspect. And then three, just always have a game plan. Be willing to strategize, innovate, reach out to people. I reach out all the time. I have a Rolodex of people I reach out to all the time, and be willing to say, I don't know, right? So it's really back up, which is having a firm foundation of something outside of your individual self. For me, is faith. Two, be willing to be uncomfortable and unliked. And three, being able to say, I don't know, and reach out to people.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's great.
Are there other organizations that you collaborate with?
Yeah, we have about 36 partners that we collaborate with because, once again, the work can't be done alone. So we
Mhm.
have about 36. We meet about 4 times a year, using data, challenging each other, sharing case notes. But yeah, we collaborate all the time.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
great.
important.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
Um, so what's one thing, being in the sector, nonprofit sector, that's really surprised you? What were you not expecting, or what's over the years kind of threw you for a loop?
I am always amazed that we're still able to attract people into this space. This is a extremely hard space to be in. And also, I'm married to someone who works in an industry that is rewards you very well. And just seeing the resources that they get to do their jobs. And then I see a lot of my peers who work as hard as many people, my friends, my husband, in these industries that they're in. And I'm just always amazed that we're able to keep people in this industry because you are really not rewarded for what the work that you put in, the energy, the mental health, the mental energy, the physical health, the thought leadership that you provide. We are just not given the resources, nor are we compensated for the work that we do. So I'm always amazed when I see amazing people, quality people. I'm just like, man, hopefully we can keep you, but I understand if you want to go someplace else.
Yeah, no, we see that too. I mean, it's a lot of great people,
Yeah,
but it's tough.
it's tough. It is tough, but
Yeah,
rewarding, but it is tough. And I never want to diminish the toughness because it is tough.
yeah, yeah. I don't think everyone appreciates how tough it really is. How,
No,
bare bones funding,
no.
you're working tons of hours, wearing multiple hats,
Yeah.
and you're basically trying to solve society's problems at the same
Yes.
time. So
When society breaks down, we are supposed to step in, but then
yeah,
society is like, well, just do it on a shoestring budget.
you're nonprofit, right? You don't get paid.
Adam says that phrase all the time.
What?
Task to save the world on a shoestring budget.
Yeah,
Shoestring budget.
Yeah.
yeah. So what? So let's take a step back, just big picture. What do you think some of the biggest challenges nonprofits be facing over the next few years?
Wow. Well, before January 2025, I think it would have been a different list. I think if in the current context that we are, you probably should put a date on this, April 28th, 2025, in case someone reads this like sees this like 5 years later, right? In the current context, I think if you go back to 2008 in a financial crash that we had, it wasn't the housing market that crashed. It was the point that banks could not get money to service their products, their loans, and things, right? So when Goldman Sachs could not pay people, right, because they couldn't get access to funds, that's when you had, the liquidity market and all that stuff. That's happening now in the nonprofit space, which is the gears that kind of keep the ship going are just stopping. So you have a federal constriction of dollars. At the same time, the state is going to start to decrease. And then you have private philanthropy trying to figure out what to do. So they're stopping because they're like, look, what is our strategy in this current context that we're in? So everything's stopped, but the need is still going. And
Mhm.
so I think the largest challenge for us right now is going to be liquidity. I think the liquidity is going to be a major issue for nonprofits across the United States. And we're already seeing that article after article come out that funding drying up, this drying up, that drying up. And it's going to create a domino effect there, which leads to the next domino is that liquidity is going to be drying up, which means talent is going to start leaving. And when talent leaves, that's going to be a challenge, right? And then are we going to be able to attract that talent back once the liquidity comes back? It's going to be a question for us, right? And so I would say those are two of the biggest challenges and how I'm trying to navigate my organization through right now, which is, where are all my lines of revenue? What can stop and how do I mitigate around that? And also how do I keep my best and my best talent during this crisis that we're currently in the nonprofit space? So those would be the top two.
Yeah, we've been hearing similar thoughts across the sector.
Yeah,
It's tough right now.
yeah. I have
I
some
think we use
friends.
that word multiple times, tough, but
It's extraordinarily tougher nowadays.
yeah, I think I need a thesaurus. Other words for tough. Um, so yeah, closing thoughts. What do what's one advice you would have for a new CEO or executive director into the nonprofit space? What's the one advice you want them to really take?
Ooh, if I had to go back in time, I would say invest in a coach.
Hmm.
I would say that. If I would have had a good coach my first couple of years that I have a coach now, I think I would have made different decisions. And right. And so if I had to pick a number two, I would ensure that my board is it the board that I need to push the organization forward and just not a yes board, right? And
Mhm.
so I would say invest in the coach, ensure that you have the support and the thought leader who's gone through the work, knows this work, and also maybe even have a cross-sector experience like private and
Mhm.
nonprofit and private sector. And then also ensuring that you have a board that can help you not only be a thought leader, but also understands their responsibility around fiduciary responsibility. It is their job to also help you fundraise. And if they're not willing to help you fundraise, then that's not the board that you need. So I would say those top two: a coach and a board that knows, push and also fiduciary responsibility.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like the idea of a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, coaches are amazing. I love them.
Yeah, you could always learn new things, have someone help guide you if you're new in the
Yep.
role for a few years or if you've been in the role for a long time. There's always
Yep.
things that you could learn from someone
Yeah.
else.
Yep, definitely. I meet with my coach every 2 weeks.
And
That's great.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today.
No problem. Thank you
So
guys.
thank you, Dominique, for joining us. And then until next time, bye, everyone.